It's been said many times before, Ocarina of Time is hailed as one of the greatest, if not the greatest video game ever made. The wait for the game to be finally released in 1998 was well worth it for a lot of the Nintendo fans out there. For many, this was the first experience of a Zelda game, including me. It was also half a decade since the release of the last home console Zelda game, A Link to the Past. Another game which received high recognition. Check out my review of that if you haven't seen it already. I did that nearly 2 years ago now. Since then, Link's Awakening was released as the first handheld title in a series, but that came out not long after the release of A Link to the Past. In 1995, when the N64 was first announced, Zelda was confirmed as a game for it, with the working title Zelda 64. When it was finally released in 1998 with the title The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, fans of the franchise finally learnt that this was the first game in the Zelda timeline. Well, that was until Skyward Sword came along in 2011. The story is the most simple of the Zelda formula, and since this game, many Zelda titles have replicated this in different ways, but it still works. However, the story of this game has to be the best in the series. You grow up as a kid, you become the chosen one, you fight evil, and you save the princess from the evil villain, in this case Ganondorf. Sounds easy, right? I never get tired of playing through this game over and over again. All of the dungeons, all of the temples. It's so great to see that it still holds up well with critics, nearly 20 years since its first release. The gameplay of this is like any other Zelda game, which was made in 3D. And as this was the first 3D Zelda title to be ever released, the introduction of the targeting mechanic for talking to other characters and facing the many creatures of Hyrule was absolutely groundbreaking. It's so natural. It must have blown people's minds back in 1998. All the items that are used in this game are great. The transition from third person to first person when using weapons such as a slingshot or the bow and arrow are such a nice touch. Nowadays we take it for granted, but I really think back then for 1998, a game which included both first and third person, it doesn't really get much better than this, does it? So gameplay wise, it's flawless. Your music is some of the best music ever made for a video game ever as well. Enough said. Any bad things to say? Not really. Yeah, the graphics may look substandard in terms of today, but I think back in the 90s, it was probably the best graphics for any Nintendo game up to that point. Oh yeah, there is Navi. Well, we all know that Navi is famous for being the most useless Zelda of companion of all time, right? Well, you know what? I calculate 100% chance that this is the most useless Zelda companion of all time. This right here is the most useless Zelda companion of all time. The supporting characters are outstanding, and I always enjoy playing the side quests every time I play this game. In terms of it being a masterpiece, well, I think the phrase masterpiece is overused nowadays in video games. Every year, when a new Call of Duty game comes out, someone will come out and say, that's a masterpiece. Well, is it? I suppose that's for you to decide. As for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, it is absolutely safe to say, with the amount of legacy that it has had on the video game community. It absolutely is a masterpiece, and no other game has quite met the standard that this game produced back in the late 1990s.